and welcome to this edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell Tata, your host, and today I'm happy to welcome Ronnie Gehring. Ronnie is the Director of Resource Home Development, and we're going to be talking about the foster care system in Hampton Roads. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, your organization is called the UP Center. Can you tell us a little bit about what the UP Center is?
Yes, the UP Center is the area's oldest and largest nonprofit human service agency. We serve about 10,000 people every year through over about 20 different programs, ranging anything from housing and financial counseling to outpatient counseling. We have prevention programs and what I do, which is foster care and adoptions.
So it's an umbrella organization that encompasses a lot, but your focus is foster care.
Correct, and the agency itself has been around since 1883, so over 130 years.
And is it only in Hampton Roads, or is it in other areas?
Primarily Hampton Roads, but the foster care program, we can accept kids primarily anywhere in the state, but technically anywhere in the country in special circumstances.
So how many children are actually in the foster care system here?
In the United States, there's anywhere, depending on which numbers you read, there's anywhere from 402,000 to over 500,000 children in foster care. In the state of Virginia, there's over 5,100 kids in foster care. And then locally in Hampton Roads, there's about 867 children in foster care.
And what happens if there's not a home available for the children?
Typically that does not happen, but it's a matter of what type of home that child is going to be in. For example, if you have a sibling group and there's not enough homes, then the sibling group has to be split up, which is, adding another trauma on top of already being removed from their family. Sometimes they could be in substandard situations, meaning that the foster home is already full, but they're desperate, so they put them in a home. And you might have, 3 or 4 kids in one bedroom. They might be out of district, and meaning they might have sibling groups in different cities. So it's just causes a number of problems if there's not enough homes available.
Well, when they talk about, you always hear about foster parents, but can you talk a little bit about what they actually provide to the children?
Well, in addition to providing, of course, their basic needs, the food, clothing, and shelter, they provide a loving, nurturing, stable home, something that these kids are severely lacking in the environments they're coming from. They provide, they can serve as role models for children, because these are kids who typically don't know how to appropriately respond to stressors and life's changes and adversity. So the foster parents can kind of serve as a role model to show them how to appropriately respond when they are feeling stressed or when they are feeling conflict or things of that nature.
So I'm sure there's some training involved with
yes,
teaching them.
all of our foster parents go through a 36-hour training class.
And what's involved with that?
We cover a wide range of topics. We use a national curriculum. It's called the PRIDE curriculum, which is nationally recognized through the Child Welfare League of America. And we cover family relationships, attachment, grief, loss. One of our big pushes at the UP Center now is trauma-informed care, and we have a whole class teaching about trauma-informed care, because these are children who have multiple traumas in their lives.
Right.
And if you think about it, just the fact that they've been taken away from their homes and now they're in a stranger's home, that's 2 traumas right there.
Right.
And that doesn't even include any traumas that they were experiencing in the home, meaning abuse, neglect,
right,
and just general bad living conditions.
Now, do most of the foster parents, do they have children, or is that a requirement, or how does that work? We
have both. We have people who don't have children. We have people who have adult children, so kind of empty nesters. We have people who do have children in the home. We have people who have young children in the home. So it's kind of runs the gamut as far as that goes. There's no perfect situation for it to be a foster parent.
Well, can you talk a little bit about what makes the stellar foster parent?
It'd be someone that doesn't complain about everything they have to do when in taking care of a foster child. These children have multiple appointments every week. They have visits with the biological family, and that could include some contact with the biological family, which a lot of people are kind of apprehensive about. But it typically works out with little to no problem. But people are kind of anxious about that when they hear about it. We want someone that's not going to give up on these kids, because these are typically children, because we're a therapeutic foster care agency, these are kids who have typically been in foster care before, and they've been discarded and been through multiple placements. And so we want our foster parents to see it through and not give up when they're challenged, or not give up when the child exhibits negative behavior. And these are kids who, again, because they're traumatized, they have, or they're capable of destroying property, yelling, being very verbally aggressive, in some cases physically aggressive, though that tends not to happen very much. And the ironic thing for these kids, and this is fairly well known in the attachment field, is that the closer they feel to the foster parent, the more connected they feel, the more they're going to push away, and the more their behaviors are going to escalate.
Really?
Yes, because what happens is that they're not used to having an adult in their lives that they can trust, and so when they start feeling that connection, it makes them kind of like a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And so they typically do both. They fight and they flight in terms of pushing them away and escalating their behaviors, because they don't like that feeling of feeling love or affection towards someone because they're not used to it, and they've been let down so many times in their past.
So I'm sure you have contact with outside resources to help them with some of the more in-depth counseling that they would need, or?
Yes, we support our foster parents in the best way we possibly can, and that includes, we have 24-hour day, 7 days a week, 365 on-call workers available. We provide constant in-home and phone contact with our foster parents, and then we connect them with whatever resources they need, and that could include therapists, include medical doctors, dentists, or anything else any special needs that the child might have. We help them navigate the education system, and particularly the special education system, because a lot of these children are in need of special education services through the public school system, and that can be kind of a challenging thing for our foster parents to deal with, so we kind of support them through that. And we're basically with them every step of the way. Typically, if a foster parent is at a meeting, a staff person is going to be there with them to help them.
So do the foster parents, is there sort of a network of these parents that they get together, or do they have any kind of support group, or do they come together and talk about some of the same issues that they're dealing with in the homes?
Well, at the UP Center, and all of my answers are related to the UP Center. I can't speak on to other private agencies or public agencies.
Yeah.
But at the UP Center, we do offer a support group for our foster families about 8 times a year. And that is an opportunity for all of us to come together, the families to come together, but also staff. We can talk about any issues that are happening. Sometimes we bring in a presenter to talk about a certain topic. And sometimes we break off into small groups and work with them in that way and help them improve their parenting skills, or give them information that they need to help deal with this special circumstances they're dealing with in their homes. And in addition to that, as kind of a retention tool, we also do 3 special events throughout the year. We have something in the spring, we call it a spring event, but it's just time for the families to come together, including the biological children in that case. But come together, we've done it at various locations throughout Hampton Roads. We've done it at the Virginia Zoo in the past. Last year and this year we'll be doing it at the Virginia Living Museum. So we kind of vary that up. We also have something around the holidays. We have a big reception, and with DJ and music and Santa Claus and Angel Tree and that sort of thing. And then during Foster Care Awareness Month, we do a special foster care recognition dinner where we recognize certain foster parents.
And is there a sort of a typical length of time that children stay with a foster parent, or is it all over the board from 2 weeks to a year?
It's all over the place. It just depends on the individual circumstances of the case. We have some kids who've been with their foster parent for 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Do they ever try to adopt them?
Absolutely. Anytime one of our kids are come available for adoption, our foster parent is always the first option to be allowed to adopt that child. And in most cases, they do adopt.
And so you have found that seems to work out really well for everyone.
Right, because we work from the philosophy of first placement, best placement, meaning we don't want these kids to have to move. So once we put them in a home, it is our hope that they'll maintain in that home until they achieve permanency, and that could be going back home, going to a family member, or being adopted by the foster parents.
Now, is there sort of a retention rate of foster parents? I mean, once you sign up to take this on, do you find that they continue over the years?
Some of them do. I set out fiscal year 2015 with a goal of retaining about 75% of our foster parents. And when I looked about 2 weeks ago, we were at about 73% for the year.
That's great.
So yeah, I am very happy with that. But it is very challenging, and it's a very challenging thing to recruit foster parents, to approve foster parents, and then to maintain foster parents. It's one of the biggest things that we're challenged with at any given time. So if we have four needs that we need from foster parents, and you can have one of these, or you have all 4 of them, that's great. But the first is we need parents who are willing to take kids of any age, any gender, and any race.
Right.
We don't want any kind of
no selective.
Right. We want foster parents to be too selective. Secondly, we need someone that's going to be able to put up with some extreme behaviors. Again, these kids have been traumatized multiple times in their lives, and you can't expect a child to go through that and not have it exhibited in some way, and typically it's in negative behaviors.
Right.
And again, that can include verbal aggression, physical aggression, destruction of property, non-compliance, not listening, not wanting to go to school, fighting in school. So all those types of things. We need parents that are willing to deal with that and not give up at the first sight of trouble. A third area we need foster parents for is stay-at-home parents. Again, not all we certainly have parents that work. We have single parents who work, and we need all of them.
Right.
But lately, we've really seen a trend in a requirement that our referral sources prefer stay-at-home parents, meaning that they're younger kids who might have special needs, and they don't want them to go to a child care facility.
Again, that brings in another person that they have to transition.
Correct.
Right.
And then the fourth area we need is parents who are able to take sibling groups.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to your original question, or one of your original questions, is we don't want to separate sibling groups. We want to keep them together whenever possible. And so in order to do that, we need homes that can, has 2, 3, 4 bedrooms available for kids, so that when we do have a sibling group come in, we can put them in one home and keep them together.
So that's what you're looking for, and do these people apply? They hear about it and they apply, and then you have to go through a vetting process, I'm sure.
Yes, what happens is, of course, we do all kinds of marketing and recruitment activities to get foster parents to the UP Center.
Right.
And it used to be they would find us in the yellow pages, and that doesn't happen anymore.
Yellow pages.
So that's why something we're struggling with is because people that don't use the yellow pages anymore, typically they're also not the people that use the internet.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to change with the times, and so
Yeah.
we do. If you Google foster care in Virginia, typically the UP Center is one of the first agencies to come up.
Oh.
We are always at community events.
With the booth that where you
with
sort
booths
of
at any kind of
recruit?
festivals, especially ones that typically draw families,
Right.
or people who we think would be good foster parents.
Yeah.
Once we do that, then we have them sign up, or they contact us through our website and sign up for more information, and we mail that information out to them.
And what is that website?
The website is www.theupcenter, spelled out, .org.
The UP Center, so you
The
need
UP Center.
THE in there.
Yes. Yes.
All right, well, Ronnie, thank you so much for talking to us, and we're going to take a break and come back. Right now we've been talking about the foster parents, but we're going to shift focus a little bit and talk about the foster children. So this is Ann Farrell Tata. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be right back after the break. Bye-bye. Hi, welcome back to Join Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell Tata, your host, and I've been joined by Ronnie Gehring. Ronnie is the director of Resource Home Development at the UP Center. And we've been talking about the foster care system in Hampton Roads, and we're going to continue our conversation and talk more specifically about the foster children. So thank you for staying with us through the break.
Thank you.
So Ronnie, can you talk a little bit about, is there a typical age of a child or a age range of a child? Can you talk a little bit about the specific children in foster care?
Kids can come in foster care of any age. At the UP Center, it's kind of interesting. When I started here 8 years ago, we were almost entirely had children over the age of 10 or 12 years old. We've seen a real shift in that, and now we have about 55 kids in our program, and well over half of them are under the age of 10.
What do you think the change is from?
I'm not sure. A lot of them are sibling groups, and so there's a lot of challenges that come with that. So I can't really identify what that shift was,
Yeah.
but only that we recognize it. And it's kind of interesting because, when we talk to people interested in being a foster parent, or people who come to the first come to an information session or to the first class, most kids want the younger kids, and which is understandable. However, what we explain to them is, and out of our most difficult children, they are young. They are the younger ones. The teenagers typically are not the ones that have the most significant behavior problems.
Really?
Now they can typically they're typically the most intimidating just because given their size and their developmental stage. But when it comes to difficult behaviors or challenging behaviors, we have 4, 5, 6-year-olds who are much, much more challenging than any of our teenagers are.
What are some of the challenges? What are some of the things that they do? Acting out?
A lot of acting
crying?
out, severe tantrums, again, not listening.
Bedwetting, maybe?
That could be part of it, yes.
Yeah.
Not able to be maintained in school due to, aggressiveness with peers, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And they're little, they're young.
Yes.
That is so sad.
Yes. Yes, we've had a child who's been probably in 3 or 4 different daycare centers.
Do some of the foster parents just say, I can't handle them, and they call you to get them reassigned?
Yes, and the one young man I have in mind, he has been in approximately 4 different foster homes.
How old is he?
He is, I believe, 5 now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So what do you do? How do you help him?
All we can do is try to identify, what kind of his triggers are in terms of what sets him off or what causes his behaviors to escalate, and then work on, not doing that anymore, or how to avoid doing that, or how to avoid him escalating when those triggers do happen. And the sad thing in his case is he's placed with his sister, and his sister has basically no behaviors, but he's kind of presenting a challenge to his sister achieving permanency because he's so hard to maintain.
Right. Now at the UP Center, do you also help the biological parents, or do you offer any services for the biological parents to try to get them back on track?
We at the UP Center, we do not do that. That is the role of the local Department of Social Services.
Okay. Do you work closely with them and stay in touch with
Absolutely.
them?
They're the ones that refer the kids to us, and so that's basically who we answer to, so to speak.
Okay.
Because
So
we're a private agency, we take the referrals from the local departments, and then we have to adhere to whatever kind of treatment plan they have in place for the child and the family. So we don't work directly with the parents, but the thing that we do is we provide transportation to the visits and occasionally, participate those in any way that the therapist or any of the professionals see fit.
So whose decision is it to allow the child back into the home? Is that the agency's decision?
It's ultimately the judge's decision, but yes,
Okay.
the agency does make the recommendation as to whether or not a child should go back or not. And a judge will typically go along with that decision.
So it's based on their recommendation, and then they're
Correct.
And do they ask you for input as far as if the child has been really well adjusted in a foster home? Do they ask for your input as well?
They do. Our case managers are in pretty constant contact with social workers, via phone call. There are multiple meetings throughout the month that we attend with the with the caseworker from the local Department of Social Services. We provide monthly reports on a child's status. So we're in constant communication with the referral source.
That brings up a good point. So even though the foster care home may change, does the caseworker assigned to the child, does that stay consistent throughout the care of the child?
At the UP Center, it typically does. We have a very low turnover rate when it comes to our case managers. So typically, they have the same case manager throughout most of their stay with the program.
That's nice for some consistency for them.
Absolutely.
Now, can you talk about some of the myths about foster children?
Yeah, one myth is, that these kids go through dozens of placements.
That's not true. I think of that too. I always think, you always hear about
that used to be the
those.
case. It was certainly the case, 15, 20, 25 years ago. That definitely was the case.
Why was that?
There just weren't a lot of federal laws or guidelines in place to eliminate that.
And maybe counseling too. They probably have gotten better about finding resources to help them cope.
Well, yeah, and the field itself has developed and evolved. Again, I've talked quite a bit about trauma, and there's a big focus on that right now about addressing the trauma these kids have experienced.
Yeah.
And the way we frame it to our foster parents is we need to stop asking the kids what's wrong with you and start asking what's happened to you.
Oh,
so that's a major shift in their thinking, and it has really kind of changed the way that we do things and how we expect our parents to parent the children. Another myth is that there's one race, or the racial makeup of the children in foster care is one way or the other, and it's a very diverse population. Child abuse, neglect, and sexual abuse, that cuts across all racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic lines.
Wow.
So there is no picture of a typical child who's in foster care. Another myth is that a foster parent has no control over what kind of child they have in their home. And that is absolutely not the case. The foster parents, when part of the approval process is they can tell us what kind of child they're interested in having, age, race, gender, and what kind of behaviors they're willing to tolerate or deal with. And so they have total control, and we have foster parents who have told us no when we've called them for placement.
We don't want babies, or we don't want teenagers. Or
right.
we don't want girls, or we don't want boys.
Correct. But
So
I want to get us away from that, though, because again, when we have a foster parent who says, I want a Caucasian girl between the ages of 5 and 8, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, because it has, but that's an unrealistic expectation to have.
Right.
And our philosophy is we want to find homes for children. We don't want to find children for homes. And so we want our foster parents to be very open-minded about the type of child they're willing to take. And we're very upfront with them and honest in the
Yeah.
training that this is not something easy that they're getting to get into.
Right.
That this is a very challenging and emotional area that they're entering. And so they need to be prepared to deal with kids who have severe trauma and severe behaviors as a result of that.
Well, I would think that that would be more the exception to the rule, the people that would want a very narrow.
You'd actually be surprised.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because I would think just the fact that they would be willing to open their home to a stranger's child, you know, that their heart is already in the right place of just being open to take any child that's in need.
Yeah, well, that would be our hope too, but that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And for example, you know, we average about 30 referrals a month, meaning
Oh, wow.
we get about 30 phone calls or emails from local departments of social services, primarily in Hampton Roads.
And that's all over, Chesapeake,
Yes.
Virginia Beach,
Yes,
everywhere.
All the cities in the 757, but we can go up to James City County and Richmond as well occasionally. But we can average 30 referrals a month for kids that need placement, and it's not uncommon for us to place 2 or 3 of them. And the primary reason we don't place kids is because we don't have the homes, or the homes we do have are too strict in what they're willing to accept into their homes.
So what do you do? What happens to those children?
The local department just has to find another private agency or use one of their own homes, or it goes back to what I said earlier in the program, where you may be splitting up a sibling group, or you may be putting them in a home that already has too many kids. Again, no one's doing anything illegal or unethical, but it's just not the best environment.
Right.
Exactly.
So when you talk about the sibling groups, is there sort of a typical number of siblings, or are you finding that it's more 3 and 4 children versus 2?
Again, that's all over the place.
What's the biggest that you family
The biggest we had were 7 kids.
7 children.
Yes.
Did one family, were they able to
We
take
were able
them?
to maintain them in one home.
That's amazing.
Yes. Yes.
So probably another myth is that you have to have a lot of money to be able to be a foster parent. Is that true?
That's not true at all. All we ask is that the foster parent prove to us that they're able to maintain their monthly financial responsibilities with the income they currently have.
And so I'm sure there is financial support for these families that are opening their homes as well.
Yes, I mean all foster
Is
parents.
that from you guys, or is that from other agencies?
It comes from the state down, basically. Every agency, every private agency is required to pay the foster parents the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And now that varies. They receive a room and board amount based on the age of the child.
Oh, yeah.
And then they receive specialized or additional monies that's based on the special needs or behaviors of the child. And so, as you can imagine, the more significant the behaviors, the more money the foster parent would receive. But again, all that money is expected to go back to the child in whatever way possible.
And now what about the school district? Do you try to, if a child has been taken from the home, do you try to find a family that's in their same school district so they don't have to change schools, or is changing schools a benefit to give them a totally different environment?
Typically, it's best to be maintained in the same school, but that's very difficult to do. Again, especially with a private agency, because we have homes all over Hampton Roads. And so all we can do is provide the local Department of Social Services with the best families that we have available. And it's up to them to decide whether or not school is important enough for them to say, well, no, thank you, but we'll look at our own homes.
Right.
Or, you know, the family sounds really good, we'll sacrifice this having to move schools so that they'll be with a good family.
So sometimes they have to change cities, like the family may be taken out, or the child may be taken out of Norfolk but put into a family in Virginia Beach, so they have to change the whole school system.
Yes, yes.
Now, talk a little bit about that, because so when a child is taken from the home, and that's a social services that does that, and then where do they go right away while they're trying to assess what the child needs and what's going on?
They most always typically go straight to a foster home.
Oh, they do?
Yes,
So as they're working all the details out, they're already in a foster home.
Yes.
So you're the front line, first line of where a child goes.
In some cases, yes. Yes.
That must be really difficult, because you if they've just come out of a home, the trauma must be at its height.
Yeah, and a situation we dealt with last summer, and I was actually there for that, and 3 boys came into care. So I was in the lobby with our foster parents waiting for them to come down, and unfortunately they couldn't be maintained in the same home.
Yeah.
But one of them came down and really just broke down and was
wow.
screaming and crying, and he was 8 years old.
Oh my gosh. From the trauma or being pulled away from his family?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Both. I mean, he was screaming for his mother.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's
and it was
horrible.
heartbreaking to have to watch,
Right.
and our foster parents are sitting there witnessing the same thing. So yeah, it's not an easy line of work to be in.
When you say the lobby, was this of the building
Yes.
where the facility? Not. I mean, they go right to the social services building.
Yeah, they're in the social building. We were in the waiting area.
So do you get calls in the middle of the night?
We can, yes, and that has happened with more frequency over the last month or so.
Wow. Does it get worse in the summer, or is it a seasonal?
Yeah, we do typically see an uptick in placements during the summer months. And then a lot also when school starts back up, because again, once the kids are back in school, they're coming in contact with mandated reporters, the school system, school staff, teachers, and that sort of thing.
Oh, and they're a lot of the reporting people.
Correct.
So do you find after children have gone through the foster and they've gotten some counseling, do they typically go back to their parents and things work out, or do you find that they return to the foster
That's also
homes?
all over the place. It just depends on the individual circumstances of the case and the family. We've had kids who have gone back home and it's been successful. We've had kids that go back home and have come back into care. We've had kids that were adopted by our parents.
So you see everything.
Yeah, we see everything.
But the biggest thing, there is hope.
Absolutely. There's absolutely hope.
So you have a very rewarding job to be
It
able.
can
I mean,
be,
I'm
yes.
sure it's very trying as well.
It can be very rewarding, and
Yeah.
we talk to our parents because they have an opportunity, regardless of whether or not the child stays with them or goes back home, they have an opportunity to expose that child to things that they typically may not have experienced before. We've
Yeah.
had kids in the program who had never had a birthday cake before they were in foster care,
Oh, my
or a birthday
goodness.
party. We've had kids go to Disney World, we've had kids go on cruises, we've had kids go with the family to family reunions and other parts of the country. So there's just a lot of, they can expose them to a lot of things that they're not typically exposed to.
Well, Ronnie, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us today and educating us about the foster care system. Really
you for having
appreciate it.
me.
Thank you. I'm Ann Farrell Tata. This is Joy in Our Town. Thanks. See us again. Yeah, see, it goes so.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.